Hello, everybody, and welcome to Frankenstein's podcast, where it is all about the monster. We discuss all kinds of fictional monsters, creatures, and beasts, from the alien to the mythological and supernatural, from all corners of pop culture. Hey, I'm Joe Praska, one of your hosts, and
I'm your other host, Khalid, and this is the podcast, Frankenstein's podcast, Frankenstein's podcast.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that was for the peeps. That was for the folks that will watch this movie and have that little tune in their head. It's been in my head all day.
It's relentless. Yeah, no, I love it, though.
Yeah, relentless is a good word for it.
Yeah, guess what shape I'm thinking of, Khalid?
I guess a square. Oh no, I wasn't gonna say triagon. I'm trying not to bully you this early.
All right. I'm thinking of a five-sided shape, which is sometimes called a pentagon. You want to know why?
Why?
Because we are attacking another corner of pop culture.
Yeah,
Another
we
side,
are.
the musical.
What? Musical.
And what I'm excited about this one is we have a special guest here to discuss this with us. Our guest is Heather Shapiro, who is a comedic writer, director, and actor hailing from California. She likes to make jokes at her own expense in multiple languages and as many continents as possible. She began her comedic career in Spanish while living abroad in Uruguay. She has her undergrad degree from the UC Berkeley and professional clown degree from Second City's Harold Ramis Film School, which sounds super fun. And her digital series El Kimberly Project will be released this fall on UN3 Argentina. That's Project with a Y if you want to search it on Google, which you should. Heather, thanks for being here. Welcome.
Thanks. Hi, Joe. Hi, Khalid.
Hi.
Hey, Heather.
Khalid, I really liked your intro with that song. That was very good. I would have joined in, but
I know. It must have been so hard to just sit there like politely just hearing that awesome jam I came up with.
I wanted to join you singing off key, but I thought it would be best to let you do it.
Yeah, I mean, there are certain things that I'm just kind of a pro at. You got to let me do my thing. You got to let my wings fly, soar, flap.
Yeah, I didn't want to step on your toes there.
Thank you. How are you doing today, Heather?
I'm doing good. Just another day in the, pandemic and pre-2020 election cycle. So, this was a nice distraction today from all of that.
Well, we appreciate having you on. And nice distraction is exactly what this is. It's just a couple friends talking about some fun little musical that you brought to me and Joe's attention. I know that I've never seen this before. Is that the same for you, Joe?
Same. I have never seen this, and I didn't really even know much what it was about. I'm like, once I read the premise, I'm like, how have I never seen this?
Yeah, it feels like it's going to be a distraction until you realize it's an allegory, and then you're not as distracted anymore. But I guess we'll get into that once we start talking about the monster.
Yeah. Before we start, Heather, I have two questions for you that I give all of our guests. Are you ready?
Yeah. Wait, let me just take a sip of my rosé. I made sure it was loud.
That's good Foley work.
All right, go for it.
All right. So, as you might know, this is a monster podcast. So, my question for you is actually a two-part question here. In all of pop culture, whether that's a movie, show, book, comic book, anything, what is your favorite monster that you've ever encountered? And the second part, if it's not the same, is what is the scariest monster that you've ever seen or read of?
Well, I would say my favorite monster in like a book or a story, I feel like is what is his name from Lolita, the main character from Lolita. I feel like he's I guess not a traditional monster, like a scary dinosaur creature, but the main character telling that story in Lolita is pretty monstrous.
Ooh,
he's not my favorite. I think that's the scariest one. Yeah, it's basically the entire like a first person narrative from like a child molesters with like POV, and he like falls in love with like a teenage girl and has a relationship with her. So I think he's like the scariest monster I've encountered in like literature or stories. And then like let's see, not to be a downer, which I just was. And then like my favorite the most intriguing monster maybe is the shark from Jaws.
Okay, why would you say that's the most intriguing one?
Because it's only scary because of how much of it they cut out. If they hadn't cut out more, it would be like laughable. Like the line between laughable and that's terrifying is like, 30 frames or something like that.
Wow, fascinating. Yeah, that's a great point. Good answers there. Those are definitely new ones we haven't heard yet.
Yeah. Usually it's like the xenomorph or something, so that's cool. I agree though. Like I've noticed that with like some horror movies where the less you see of the monster, the scarier it is. Because yeah, it's just your imagination is going to be 10 times scarier than anything they can like bring up. So that's a good point.
Or in the case of Jaws, it was just so shoddily made. If you actually had time to look at it, you would be like, "What is this? This is a children's toy. Why is this the great thing that's going to eat all these people?"
Yeah, the actual physical animatronic shark. Yeah,
Yeah.
The whole thing itself is not that actually intimidating if you see, I think, pictures of it. But yeah, the way they shot it, yeah, it's a good point. It's iconic.
It's not even the way they shot it. It's the fact that the editor cut so much out of the movie. Steven Spielberg wanted to keep a lot in, and his editor, she was like, "No, like you can't keep this." And she was so much older than him. He was very young, like 26 or something, and she just kind of used her seniority to be like, "No, we're not doing this."
So I guess in that scenario, he was the mayor from Jaws. With the bad. I've never seen it. I just know that joke about the mayor sucking.
Nice, Khalid.
Yeah, not the best comparison, but it was close.
All right. Well, I tried. I went for it. Yeah. All right. Remember when I had that awesome song? Let's go back to that moment.
Yes, exactly.
Well, my next question for you, Heather, is what would you say is sort of on your, I guess, geek card? So what, like, we're all kind of like geeky or nerdy or like big fans of something. What's one thing that you're like just a diehard fan of?
I want to say like period clothing. So I know a lot about, like, I can tell the difference between a piece of clothing that was from the 1930s or 1940s or 1950s. Like I can tell just by the way that the garment is constructed. So that's something that I like geek out on, and I like to read up about, like, I don't know, like medieval times and stuff like that. I guess that's pretty nerdy. That's my geek part of me.
Are there any like period movies that like are egregiously bad about it that you just like you watch it and you're offended at how off the wardrobe is?
I can't state anything like recently, but there are like little things in movies. Like, I was just watching Fried Green Tomatoes the other day. It's like a 90s movie with Kathy Bates, and then there's like flashbacks to like the early 1920s, and I saw like some wide heeled shoes, and I was like, those are not right for that period. Like I was looking at the shoes, it was just a very far away shot. So like things like that, or I'd be like, that corset isn't correct for this time period. They would be wearing, a thing underneath that. Where's that ladies? That's what I do. But there isn't anything that's like super egregious. Harlots, that one's pretty bad.
That's a show, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that one's pretty bad. The colors that they use for a lot of those dresses are just like, they use like fluorescent colors and like really bright pinks, and like colors that you would have seen in that time period in England. But it's fine. I still watch the show. I think I like to hate on it.
Oh yeah, you got to have a couple things like that.
Yeah. Have you ever watched that show, Khalid?
I have not. I've been lacking on my TV watching lately.
You almost have to watch that show with like subtitles because their accents are so intense. It's about like a group of prostitutes back in the day that were like, they're like trying to like one up the upper class, and they're like, we're harlots, like, and all this shit. And you're like,
okay. All right, you sold me just based on that impression.
Yeah, if we want to sit and watch it together, then you'll just see me just shouting back at the TV, repeating lines.
That sounds like the most optimal way to watch it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite like period piece clothing? Like you were saying, you could tell a difference between 20s, 30s, 40s. What's like? Was there something that's just like the most aesthetically pleasing to you?
Oh, yes. So I would say the most aesthetically pleasing time period, I think, not for women's rights so much, but for their bodies, was the like 1930s and 40s, because the shirts were more tailored. And like, so if you just look at a blouse, the blouses were more tailored in, and they were made for the person that was wearing them. So they're not like just like some random size or some like, there's not some just elastic waistband in the middle to create a waist. It was like tailored. They have darts in it. There's like and they're just so beautifully made for women, because we have all these, lady humps and lumps that that have to be. It's a tricky thing to make a garment for a woman. I feel like there's not a lot of straight up and down lines. And nowadays they just throw an elastic band in the middle and they say, oh, look, we've cinched your waist. And it's, I don't know, you come home at the end of the day, you have an elastic red mark in the middle of your waist. And it's not a good day,
I don't necessarily know personally, but yeah.
I feel like, God, well, I mean, that like that 1950s silhouette. I mean, it's very iconic. The hourglass shape of the clothes.
Yes, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nowadays they just throw an elastic band in, and back then they actually like folded the fabric over and sewed it, and it had all these lines in it, and it's like very perfect. And I could go on and on about it, but
I kind of love it. I'm learning stuff about this. And now I watch period pieces. I'm going to be paying much more attention to the clothing.
Yeah. I think women's clothing, particularly men's clothing, the biggest thing that's changed for you guys is like, where did the waist fall? But pretty much it's very, like, if you look at a man's suit, instead of the waist being up to his chin, like it was in the 1940s, it's dropped down to below the navel. That's the biggest change.
I like the high-waisted look. If anything, I'm mad at how low it's dropped.
Right?
I want to go back to suspenders and just like your entire belly is pants.
I'm so into this for men, and I really encourage you to bring this back.
Yeah, I've been experimenting with wardrobe, so that is something I will definitely look into.
I think it's very flattering on a lot of body types. So they knew what they were doing in terms of clothing. Everything else is a little questionable. Like, I wouldn't want to jump back in a time machine or anything, but the clothes were pretty good.
Well, there you have it. Frankenstein's podcast official stance on clothing is high-waisted pants for men.
Yeah, don't you come around here talking low-waist nonsense with us fellas.
No, I want to see it right up under the chin.
Shall we jump into the movie in question today?
Let's do it.
We shall. So today we're talking about the 1986 musical horror Little Shop of Horrors. Directed by Frank Oz and written by Howard Ashman. And I'm going to check in with our homeboy Google for the plot. Meet flower shop assistant Seymour pines for coworker Audrey. During a total eclipse, he discovers an unusual plant he names Audrey II, which feeds only on human flesh and blood. The growing plant attracts a great deal of business for the previously struggling store. After Seymour feeds Audrey's boyfriend, Oren, to the plant after Oren's accidental death, he must come up with more bodies for the increasingly bloodthirsty plant. That was a mouthful.
What a monster.
They're creatures of the abstract that live off potential energy.
It's alive!
So before we do some initial thoughts, I kind of wanted to check in some backstory with this movie. So you guys may know this already, but it was actually initially based on a 1960 film of the same name directed by Roger Corman, who's kind of like the king of B movies. But the original one was meant to be this kind of like horror, black comedy, farce type spoof movie altogether, kind of blending the genres, but it was still solidly a B movie. And then it was actually taken to the stage. It looks like 82, it was an off-Broadway musical. And then the film came out in 86 based on that musical, and has since, been a musical in theater ever since. And it was actually on Broadway in 2003. But it actually, I don't know who they is, but what I read is they think it was based on a story called Green Thoughts, which is a 1932 story, like a sci-fi story about a man-eating plant. Well, that being said, initial thoughts. What did you think? Heather, why don't you start?
Well, I've always liked this movie. I love comedies. This is a very dark comedy. A lot of it is very irreverent, and the style and tone of this particular film is super on the nose and super campy, something I can always get behind. The more corny something is and the more you go for it, I think the more it works out. And that this film, this version really, really leans into that. And so I love that for that aesthetic. And then the music is really, really fun. And iconic. I think that I saw a lot of things this time after rewatching. I saw a lot of things that I was like, I see influences from a lot of other things that this movie has influence and this movie is influenced by. So I love it. When Khalid asked me to do like a monster movie, I do not like horror movies at all. I don't like anything scary. So I was like, well, this is the only film that I will do that has a monster in it, because it is the most tolerable monster I've ever encountered in a movie, even though it eats human beings. So that's my take on it.
Nice. Khalid, what did you think?
Yeah, so like I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, I had never seen this movie before. I'd heard of it in passing, and I'm realizing that for the longest time I had just conflated this movie and Beetlejuice together. So they were just like, I don't know why, they were just in my head together. And so I even when I was asking Heather about it, I was like, oh yeah, because like Beetlejuice has a bunch of monsters. I was like, yeah, just let me know which monster specifically you want to talk about when we get to that part of the discussion. And she's like, there's only one monster. And I was like, oh, cool. I have no idea what this movie's about then. So going into
Although
it, yeah.
On rewatching, there's technically two monsters, but we can debate that later.
Okay, I'm excited. I'm going to I don't know what side you're taking, but I'm already on the other side. Just to make the conversation lively. But no, when it comes to my reaction to the movie, I really liked it. I was telling you, Joe, earlier when we were texting about this. This might be my favorite movie that we've watched so far for our podcast. It's just, one, it was so unexpected in every sense of the word. The casting, the material, the quality of the monster, which we'll get into. None of it was... I don't know how low of a bar I had for this, or if it was even low. I think I just went into it going, oh yeah, it's a well-regarded movie. We'll see what it's about. And it just blew me away. So a lot of it has to do with just the surprise factor, but I loved it for a lot of the reasons that Heather said, and much, much more. It was just a great watch. There were parts that I was just bursting out laughing at, which we'll get into. And I am so pumped to talk about this movie.
Yeah, Khalid, I agree with you a lot. And kind of like you were saying, when I was first thinking about this movie, I didn't quite know much about it either. I actually, unlike you, not Beetlejuice, I was kind of thinking of Rocky Horror Picture Show actually at first too, because I hadn't seen that either, which also might be equally egregious. But this movie is actually kind of a conglomeration of almost everything I love, which makes it so weird that I haven't seen it until now. Like, everybody who listens to this podcast knows that I love like horror, monsters, campy B movies, and especially in the 80s. So I'm all on board from that to begin with. But I also grew up like in love with the Muppets. So the Frank Oz connection was really exciting for me, and the puppetry was really exciting for me. Like all of that was super fun. And I think I talked to you about this recently, Khalid, but I'm a big fan of musicals. Like I have a whole running playlist that's all musical songs. And so like bringing those two elements into this other piece of like fandom that I love. So I was just like, I was super on board the entire time of this movie. So I really dug it. So definitely agreed with both of you. And thanks, Heather, for bringing this to us. Honestly, I don't know if I would have watched it otherwise.
I love that both of you brought up two movies that you were both thinking of, Rocky Horror Picture Show and Beetlejuice, because I feel like the comedy and style of both those movies is very similar to this like campiness and tone of this movie and the darkness that both of those other movies have. They're all in that same family and have that kind of cult like, especially Rocky Horror has that like cult like following.
I do miss like that kind of marriage of humor and horror that I don't see anymore in many movies. I really don't know what it was that stopped like horror comedies like that from being much more pervasive. And I mean, it's probably just money. Like this one wasn't exactly a big box office hit or anything, so that's probably the sad, boring answer. But it's just it's so cool to go back and finally really like with adult eyes watch a lot of these movies that I either heard of in passing growing up or saw and just couldn't appreciate at the time, and really be like in awe of some of the stuff that they were pulling off.
Yeah, and just looking at the budget for this movie, it was made for $25 million and it made $39 million. So, I mean, it recouped its budget, but it didn't like explode or anything. But that is a lower budget movie. So I think probably the reason why some of these movies like this aren't made anymore is because big studios are only making like huge movies, and they don't do this like size movie anymore, especially if it can't be like, I don't know, like sold in other countries and stuff like that, like those big action films.
Right. It's got to be like the lowest common denominator, like literally, regardless of what culture and context you made it for, somebody all the way across the world needs to also shell out money for it to be considered a success now.
Yeah, or people aren't interested in making smaller movies that are, for the sake of making the movie. Even if you're going to like recoup the budget and make some money, they're not as interested anymore. Maybe that will change now that COVID has happened and there's like production has halted for so long. Maybe we'll see like a little burst of smaller budget movies. That would be cool.
That'd be a nice unintended consequence for sure.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious. You brought up the sort of the tone of this movie in comparison to like Beetlejuice and Rocky Horror Picture Show. They make like kind of good companion pieces to each other. I kind of wanted to ask you both, what's your thought on the tone of this movie? It's obviously like, I don't know, satirical in some ways and screwball in some ways. There's absurdism. But it's like, there's also like there's some really, like Heather, I think you said this, it's really dark at times. There's some dark elements like domestic abuse and poverty. What do you think about this tone, and how do you think it works so well?
I think that the things that are really the reason why it works is because the moments that are actually horrific aren't made light of. So the domestic abuse that Audrey suffers, it's not something that's made light of in the movie. It's like, you need to dump that guy. Like, that is a bad guy. You shouldn't be with him. It's never made fun of. Whereas the moments that are made fun of are example, they're like, let's put this plant in the window and we'll get a bunch of people coming in. And he's like, we're not going to get a bunch of people just because we put this plant in the window. And then all of a sudden, all these people start coming in saying the exact line, like, I saw that interesting plant and now I'm coming into the window. Like, that is what makes it campy and on the nose, but it doesn't shy away from the scary things when they are happening, if that makes sense. To me, that's what I think it is.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, actually. That's a really good point. And aside from that, too, I also feel like even just some of the like scenes with Audrey too, like they actually were able to build tension effectively well. Like even in the midst of like moments that were silly or funny, like the scene that always has stuck out to me since I watched it yesterday was when Audrey II eats Mushnik, I think his name was, the boss.
Yeah.
And he's just like walking gently backwards, like, oh, you have to feed it or you have to water it, and you just know he's going to get eaten. And then the chorus, where they're saying like supper time, like it's just this like I don't know like how it all works. Like it's a silly like premise of the whole scene, but it worked. It's so tense.
Yeah, I think, and when you're talking about like the chorus, there's these three women who play like a Greek chorus almost during the entirety of the film. They come out at the beginning and they're there until the end.
And they were fantastic.
They're the best.
Yeah. I mean, they're arguably the best part of the movie, those three women. And they kind of act as the narrator for us. And I think that in that moment that you're talking about, like the cutaways to them are not these big splashy moments. They're like very subtle. Like you just see their hands or you just see their feet kind of going across the floor. And we see Audrey II about to eat the boss. And you just see these little heels like going across of this Greek chorus. You maybe just see their eyes, like, and I think that's what helps build the tension in those moments and make it kind of scary, even though it's like a musical and they're singing. And I think that's why it works. And that is just like clearly a decision made by, Frank Oz and his director of photography of like crafting that moment. And it's just very artfully done.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think what you were making me realize is that it just made the scene feel so much more intimate and claustrophobic.
So you kind of brought it up with the Greek chorus, but I want to pivot and just talk about how stellar the casting is in this. It's out of this world. I'm telling you, this is I was already impressed with the lineup they had before Steve Martin comes into this movie. It's what is it? It's Rick Moranis in the chorus. There was Tashina Arnold and Tisha Campbell, who if you're a fan of House Party or My Wife and Kids, she was also in Martin with Tashina Arnold. And then Tashina Arnold, a lot of people our age will probably know as the mom in Everybody Hates Chris. They were so great. And then Christopher Guest is actually the first guy that walks in to compliment the plant and like is like hypnotized or whatever by it, and it's like, oh yeah, I saw the plant, I had to come in. So that was a cool thing. Who else is
also
there?
On the radio, you overhear him as John Candy. I love his take on like the morning radio host guy too, because it's not that corny thing where like they do a nasally voice and it's a soundboard, because that's more 90s. So he's just doing like the actual sound effects with like all of the props in the room. We've got Bill Murray, and surprisingly, I didn't think it was possible, but this might be his weirdest role that I've ever seen. I thought I'd seen the weirdest Bill Murray roles, but that was a weird role. Randomly enough, John Belushi shows up, or Jim Belushi, whatever he goes by.
Jim, yeah.
Yeah,
Belushi, yeah.
Yeah, so like this whole cast, like you say, it's that kind of like Chicago, Toronto comedy crew. playing this like core cast of characters. Like you have Rick Moranis and Steve Martin, Belushi, John Candy, Bill Murray, Christopher Guest, like that crew of people that were like in the mid 70s, late 70s, early 80s, like just comic like icons of their time and of now, but like they kind of all grew up in that same group, so it's fun to see them all together. And then of course like Frank Oz like worked with Steve Martin many times after that, but yeah, it's pretty incredible to see all of these like comic legends working together in this movie, and then also singing, and you don't realize that like, oh shit, Rick Moranis can sing. And I think I love seeing him in this role, and it's so believable. I bet you he's like just the sweetest person in real life too. I think
he's so likable.
Well, yeah,
and it's super fun to see all these guys like it's just like almost just cameos too. Like a lot of them are just in there for like a few minutes or so. Like the Bill Murray bit, I kept thinking that was going to come back in some manner, but that was just a goofy thing.
Yeah, and I think for people who haven't seen it, there's, Steve Martin plays this deranged sadist dentist, and then to counterweight that, Bill Murray comes in and plays a masochist patient who wants the pain, and it's very it kind of is stomach turning a little bit, that scene.
It's so good though. Like I'm glad that it was just that. Like even though I said I thought it was coming back, I'm glad that it didn't. Like that was just perfect being that thing.
Yeah, they didn't no overkill.
That was, yeah, I love that too. It's just, I feel like this was that perfect time in their careers where you could tell that they were going to be stars, but it could have still gone the other way where like maybe they just have a solid career as character actors in comedies or something. And it's almost like a what if world where that's exactly what they end up doing. Like, what if Bill Murray didn't become a leading man and he just did like really random like comedy supporting roles? And how great would that have been?
I think it's just a testament to the fact that like people who are really good actors like don't care how big or small the part is. If it's a good script and if it's a good story and if the role is juicy, even if it's just for a moment that you're on screen, they'll do it. Because by 1986, these people were superstars. So I think it's just because of how incredibly juicy the parts were and just interesting and different.
I mean, yeah, props to all of them. They really kept me engaged. There's no fat in this movie. It all just moves. The music, I'm usually, whereas Joe's the kind of musical fan that can like literally like work out to it. I tend to check out with musicals. Maybe it's just something about how typically it's just an expositional device that works, but is also just an excuse to maybe not fully engage with it. This really grabbed me. The songs are awesome. I love the doo-wop nature of it. I don't know what you would call the genre that they really lean into with a lot of it, but it all just it was just like a funky, groovy tone to it that I meshed with, and I can't speak highly enough of it, especially again, like the chorus, like all of their songs, like the Little Shop of Horrors theme that I was saying I couldn't get out of my head is just so fun. Man, it's just great music.
Yeah, I think what you're talking about, like normally with musicals, they can be a little saccharine, and those moments that do have music, they can kind of feel cheesy sometimes. But this particular musical, I think, kind of avoids it because it is like, it's very soulful, and like it clearly, like all the music is clearly taken from like Black American music. Like that is where this style of music, it's like doo-wop, it's blues, it's
rock and roll.
Yeah, it's rock and roll. I mean, the man who played Audrey II was Levi Stubbs. He was the lead vocalist in the Four Tops. So yeah. I mean, and that moment when Audrey II, like that first song, Feed Me Seymour, comes up, it's almost like sexual. You're like, oh, is Audrey the plant like coming on to me but asking me for blood? It's really weird. But it feels almost like kind of sexual, like kind of Isaac Hayes, a little bit. That like Motown, like somebody's trying to get in my pants, but they're actually not. They're trying to eat me.
I don't know why. The first 10, 15 minutes when Audrey II started speaking, I thought it might be Little Richard.
Yeah, that makes sense. I also was like, is this Isaac Hayes? Like I thought that for a moment too, and I was like, no, the voice isn't deep enough for that.
Levy Stubbs was great though. He really did a good job with the voice acting. I'm sure he didn't do much as far as like making his voice any more monstrous, but I loved it. I loved how out of nowhere it was when it's just like, oh, all right, so I guess the plant's a black guy.
Yes, named Audrey, which I love too, because Seymour takes care of this little plant from when it's like a little baby. It's like his little baby, and he can't not take care of this plant. And yeah, it does. It turns out to be a black man, which is really funny.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, what did you think of the music, Joe?
No, I loved it also. I mean, you like you said, I'm all about musicals. Like I'm usually sold. But yeah, I loved it. It was super fun. I really liked the Suddenly Seymour song. That was stuck in my head for a while too. I mean, the Little Shop of Horrors was there too, but that one was just like this slow, sort of like bluesy, catchy, the serenading. But
is Suddenly Seymour your favorite?
I don't know. I actually don't think it is. But I'm gonna ask you guys your favorite first.
I really liked the opening song of Skid Row.
That's a really good one, yeah.
Yeah, and it's also just such a beautiful like set piece. Like I was just like imagining it on Broadway too, of like, oh, this is the setup of not just these characters, and it is, that song particularly is pretty expositional, but I liked seeing the entire world that they're living in. It's very clear, and then it's very clear like where each of these characters are coming from and how they live, and then it's just so well. Like the dancing that's done in it, the music, the way that it's shot and covered on that really cool set that they built. I just think that whole sequence is very impressive.
Agreed. What about you, Khalid?
So I think Skid Row is definitely up there for me, but since you just said that, I'll say my other favorite, which is Somewhere That's Green, the Audrey song.
Somewhere That's Green.
There's something just, especially because if there's anybody that you're actually going to feel sympathetic for in the movie, it's Audrey the whole way through. Seymour is a sympathetic character for a lot of it, but he's also just kind of a dope, which I always just, I withhold a little bit of sympathy if a person is just like, I don't know, just like inconsistently smart like that, you know? So I love how earnest she is in the song and the things that she hopes for. And it's just, I think what I love most about the song is that the visual comedy just elevated it. Especially when you get into her fantasizing about the like makeshift life that she might have with Seymour if he was the guy that she's with, and the kids that they have that just look just like her and him, and they're watching I Love Lucy, and then they check in on them and they're just playing like little dorky games in their bedroom. And then they go to their bedroom and they just, even in her, like, it's her fantasy. She could have whatever she wants. And it's still so sweet and innocent where she would never like want to taint the innocent image she has of Seymour. So even in her fantasy, they have separate beds just next to each other. It all worked for me in a way that it was riding that line so deftly of being corny and amazing.
I also really love that sequence too, and I think the thing that really stood out to me is like how this woman from Skid Row, like what her image was of a happy life was so much like commercial, like American dream kind of thing, like the plastic over the furniture and having a Tupperware party and having the entire house smell like Pine Sol, which is like, you know, mentioned by brand name in the song. Like that was also very funny in that particular song.
Yeah, and there's a bittersweet energy to it, you know? I mean,
Totally.
like, yeah, when you understand like how sad of a life that she's led, that like this is the simple thing that she wants out of life is so bittersweet.
It kind of made me think, though. I mean, when I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, that, I mean, just living a very simple life and like having the things that you just need for to be comfortable in your house, like you kind of take for granted. And I'm like, oh, it made me think, actually. So bittersweet in a way of like maybe she didn't want more, or what do you mean?
No, I just meant bittersweet. I guess with the context of like she thinks she deserves an abusive boyfriend. That's the kind of life that she's
Mm,
led. So I just
yeah.
I guess I implanted a little bit more history on her where it's like, well, what kind of a life did she have before that? And I mean, just going off what you said about growing up in Skid Row and what kind of life she probably did lead up until then, that this is it seems simple to us. Like, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but like, I mean, I do know about Joe. I grew up mostly in suburban areas after the age of 13. So like, I know what that life is like. So
Mm-hmm.
to see that like that's all she wants and have the context of she's never even had a yard or a house like that to live in, and she's never had a nice boyfriend like Seymour or a nice husband, and a lot of what she thinks of that life is probably through the lens of television or movies like I Love Lucy, and
Mm,
she wants a facsimile of that life, but it's bittersweet because of all of
mm,
her life.
that makes sense.
Yeah, good points.
Joe, what was your favorite song?
All right, so I think you're like convincing me that those are great songs too. I think my favorite is the final one where not the final song, but when he's like the mean green mother from outer space.
I'm just a mean green mother from outer space, and I'm bad.
Because I just liked how like jazzy it was, and I just loved the concept of like the final kind of like boss monster fight being part of this like grand musical number with and just like the visuals accompanying of all the puppetry that everything was going on, and him just like kind of, or Audrey too, just kind of going on about what it actually is was really I don't know, everything about that, and like you said, Levy Stubbs like singing that song was just it was just a wonderful sequence, and I was just grinning the whole time. But that being said, I feel like that's a good transition point, because that song is a good. It tells us a little bit about the monster that we have in question, Audrey II, this plant creature. You guys ready to shift gears and talk about the monster?
So ready.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. So the lyrics from that song, I actually wrote down a few, tell us a little bit about who Audrey II is. A quote, mean green mother from outer space, from quote, past the stars and beyond the moon. So alien, which is interesting because in the other versions of this, the old 1960 version, and there's actually a cartoon spin-off, Audrey II is actually a prehistoric plant in both of those. So this was kind of an invented thing for the musical version, I guess, where they made it an alien.
Did you notice in the part when Seymour is explaining how he got the plant? It's he turns his back from the Chinese flower salesman it's like right before the green beam hits from the eclipse that he's about to join that doo-wop group.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that. He was running up there.
Sorry, it just stuck with me. It's so funny. Like,
It's
just
a great moment.
Anyways, sorry, Joe. You were saying
No, I was actually going to say pretty much that, like that, some sort of a total eclipse of the sun that, I don't know, brought Audrey II to the planet. I think the point of all of that weirdness is the fact that the origin of the creature doesn't really matter for the story at all.
Right.
Would you guys agree with me on that one?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, like it makes very little sense, and it's intentionally vague. It's just meant to be a fun, weird thing where it's like, oh, it's an alien plant. But what I really thought was interesting about it is just like how the plant was really brought to life in the movie itself. And as we've talked about a little bit, it's all through the wizardry of puppetry. So like Frank Oz is like, well known for being a puppeteer through the Jim Henson.
Not all of it. Not all of it.
What's that? Not all of it. Yeah, you're right. Not all of it, but a lot of it is puppetry, like the final form of it. So I think I'm trying to look here. I have it written down. There was I think 6 different puppets that they ultimately constructed completely for the different growing stages of it. And the creature designer was a man named Lyle Conway, who did most of the design work. He was somebody who worked with the Jim Henson crew and was friends with Frank Oz during the Dark Crystal. But he did the sculpting of the different Audrey II puppets from the baby all the way to the giant one. It's seven sizes in all, which is pretty cool. And the final stage, where he was singing that Mean Green Mother song, there was like, I think 52 to 60 puppeteers operating that. And one of them is actually Brian Henson, Jim Henson's son. So fun fact.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Heather, you had something about that. Not all puppetry.
No.
Do you want to elaborate?
Yeah. When Seymour discovers that Audrey II needs blood in order to survive, there is a little bit of puppeteering happening in that moment when he actually drops the blood in Audrey's mouth, in baby Audrey's mouth. But when he goes up the stairs to leave and Audrey starts to transform and grow, that is stop motion animation.
Oh, that's right. Very cool.
It's very seamlessly done. I usually can tell with stop motion.
Yeah, I didn't notice that either.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed it immediately because of how you can kind of see the little stops in the frames, and how it was done in that moment. But that was definitely stop motion animation. I don't know if you were thinking of something else though, Joe.
I wasn't sure. I thought you were going to confirm something for me. I am just so in awe of how they got the lips to move the way they did. I thought you were going to say that was some sort of like digital effects afterwards, but maybe not.
No, I don't think so.
God, those lips, right? Like, how did they do that?
Especially when it's smaller.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely the magic of puppeteering. That was clearly a practical effect.
It's so cool.
Yeah, in the late 1980s, like mid 1980s, they could not have done that with computer animation.
Right? Yeah, I figured that. It's just so seamless and so cool.
Yeah, I'm sure we could find a YouTube clip of that, of how they did that.
Yeah. So I think I know what you guys think, but would you say, like, as a creature or a villain or just in general in this movie, like the plant works, right? Audrey II works.
It was interesting. Khalid says like the most sympathetic character is the plant. And I
meant Audrey, not Audrey II.
Oh, okay. Wow, though, but my misunderstanding, I went super deep with it because I was like, when you said that and I misunderstood that you meant Audrey II, I was like, yeah, it's not the plant's fault that they eat blood and they're just a creature of their habitat.
That is a very generous reading, but no, the plant's kind of a jerk. Even if you ignore like its needs and stuff like that as a creature that feeds, it's just mean. So I don't know.
It's manipulative.
It's
manipulative. Yeah.
Yeah, Audrey 1 is the sympathetic one for me.
Yeah. Well, because I said that there's 2 monsters in the movie, and I think the first one is the plant, and the second one is the Steve Martin character. I think it's very hard to see somebody who's abusing someone and be like, that's not a monster. Like, so I think we don't feel bad at all when he gets eaten and chopped up.
Can we talk about the Steve Martin character for a second?
Yes.
I was literally, okay, so like I was saying, I really liked the movie already just because of the music, and it was the tone of it was so great. And there was something about like the whole subplot of Audrey being abused and the black eyes. I was like, oh man, this is not holding up well. Maybe back then this could have just been a thing and throwaway, and it's probably going to bring down a lot of the comedy when we eventually see this boyfriend. And I'm telling you, like when it was Steve Martin that appeared, it broke my brain. I had no idea how to process this information. Not just Steve Martin with like shoe polish black hair doing a very bad Elvis impression on a self-parking Harley. My brain is falling apart now just remembering it.
Yeah, it is kind of jarring, but I don't know. Have you ever read Steve Martin's book, Born Standing Up?
No.
No.
So, and in the book, he does describe like in his youth, like he could be kind of a jerk sometimes to women, not abusing them, obviously, but you're just run of the mill, dumb 20-year-old. So I think probably him accessing that part of him, and playing something like this, and like, you know, that made, I don't know, it made sense to me. I think somebody who, I don't know, he's a pretty sensitive person, so I think he can manage to play that sort of part with believability. I believed that he was a fucking jerk.
No, he was definitely a jerk. It was just I guess there's something weirdly you could still like the character. Maybe it was because of the Steve Martin of it all, but like despite all of the bad stuff he does, and I mean they really leaned into how like over the top mean he was with like, but yeah, just even the reveal that he's a dentist was such a great joke of like a whole song explaining what he wound up doing with his life because of his sadism. It was so funny to me. Joe, what did you think
of the Steve Martin character?
Yeah,
I mean, I feel like you kind of hit the nail on the head there. Like it's yeah, it works. Like it's so weird. Like, yeah, you said he's like a psychopathic, I don't know, like Greaser Elvis kind of character that's a dentist. It's just so absurd, and it fits really well in this movie.
The part when he dies, that was the only part where it was like actually for 1 second he played it sincerely, and it was so great when he's like, I can't remember the exact line now, but it was something like, "Why would you do this?" Or he's like, "What? I never did anything to you." And he goes, "It's not." He's like, "But you did do something to her." And he's like, "Who?" "Oh, her." And then he like dies, and it's just like that was heavy for me. I don't know why. It just like was so unexpectedly sincere after he's just been hamming it up for 30 minutes.
Yeah, and that's what I mean by they don't in this movie, they don't throw away those moments that are serious. Like when he realizes what he's talking about is like, no, you're abusing your girlfriend, and he's like, oh, it is very serious. So, but you also don't necessarily feel bad because the Rick Moranis character, Seymour doesn't kill him. I mean, he killed the dentist. He kills himself by wearing that stupid laughing gas headset he's wearing, and he's literally, I love that his death is he laughs himself to death with laughing gas. He's like laughing in between dying.
This is just making me wish that he had been cast as the Joker at some point in his career.
Oh, that would have been good. That would have been good.
He could still do it and I'd watch, honestly, but like, yeah, the laughing gas and everything, that was such a like insane sequence. Just oh my god. And that is a terrifying concept. A dentist that like loves inflicting pain and also being high out of his gourd when he's performing the surgery.
It's terrifying, and that's why I say he's the second monster in the film, because recently I've had some very bad dental experiences. I had an infection in my jaw and I had to have my tooth pulled, and pain in your mouth, and I swear it's because it's closer to your brain, so you can like think about it more. It fucking hurts so bad, and going to the dentist never scared me before, but I think like in this this is like 1940s 1950s-esque world that they've made, it's like a faux throwback world. I'm sure that going to the dentist was not a pleasant experience, and it was very painful. So that rung so true to me of when people were scared of him, because people are already scared of going to the dentist. And then you have a dentist that seems to take pleasure in your pain. That is a motherfucker you want to stay away from.
Yeah, and I'm sure back then, yeah, there was just like a running joke that dentists must be sadists.
You know what else I also loved was just the scene of him getting chopped up too. Like I liked, like he brings the body to Audrey II, and the plant's like, I can't eat it. I can't eat it like this. And and I feel like Rick Moranis's response is I mean, later on, he grapples with the guilt of it, of course, but I feel like his response is almost just like, oh, do I have to? Like I don't want to go through that work. And then just, I don't know. I got like some mad, like Sweeney Todd vibes of that whole sequence too.
Dude, this whole thing, yeah, that was my, like, when I was watching, I was like, oh, this is like a weird mix between almost like Aladdin and Sweeney Todd, where you've got this like fantastical creature that can seemingly grant wishes, but also it's through murder and your business starts booming through that murder.
I'm glad you brought up the Aladdin connection because I actually was thinking that it had some genie vibes too. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's the monster in a nutshell. It's just like it's like a old school "be careful what you wish for" type genie.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Also, Joe brought up like, oh, it's a satire, and I think like that's the clearest moment of satire is when Seymour is like about to chop up the body, and we see that shadow being cast on the wall, and it's like very scary looking, and then you see the owner of the shop go up and he looks through the little peephole in the fence. Like that's the most, that's like the biggest moment of satire of taking off of a horror movie, I think, in the entire film.
No, yeah. And I mean, yeah, the monster eating Mushkin, we kind of talked about it before. That was also just like that nice balance of funny and scary. But I didn't know what to make of Mushkin. Am I saying it right?
I think so.
Mr. Mushnik.
Mushnik. No,
Mushnik. That's it.
I was wrong too.
Yeah, just like that classic kind of like New York Jewish shop owner.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. Like I didn't think he was that bad. Obviously, there were the throwaway jokey lines where Moranis is like, "Oh yeah, he adopted me and he gave me every other Sunday off. He was so great." But he never like was outwardly mean, and he wasn't that like predatory of Audrey. So when he finally just like turns and is like, "All right, man, I'm either gonna get you arrested for murder or you can give me this multi-million-dollar plant," I was like, "Oh, so you are a bad guy?" I don't know. I mean, it's just that thing narratively where you have to like make everybody that gets murdered bad. That I don't always necessarily love, but I didn't mind it in this movie. I was just having a hard time pinning down Mushnik.
See, I think when you said it's that classic, like, be careful what you wish for, like, I feel like that's where the allegory in this movie comes in. And I don't know about previous versions of this film. So, like, Joe, you can fill me in here.
I don't know too much either.
I know that in this film, it's clearly to me an allegory for success and putting your success first. In the lines of your objective, like what you want to obtain in life and what you think is important. And like as you're going, like the plant is like, it starts off as this little baby, like a little side project. It's like this little thing that you want to take care of, and then it starts growing and it literally eats the people in your life, and it might start eating people that are your enemies, and then it eventually can like devour the people that you love. And to me, that was the huge allegory of the whole thing. And the fact that the last song is, what is it? I'm a green,
mean green mother from outer space.
Yeah, I'm just a mean green mother from outer space. Like to me, it's like I don't know. It was very much like a cautionary tale about like trying to be successful in society and like what it looks like when you actually get to the top, or what it will look like on your way up.
Yeah, no, it's interesting that you bring that up because there was originally an alternate ending to the movie based on the play or the musical, I mean, that they ended up scrapping, but that actually goes along with what you were saying about the be careful what you wish for and the costs of a too singular ambitious mind. And the scene we see in the movie where Audrey 1 is getting eaten by Audrey 2, and all of a sudden Seymour bursts in and saves her. In the original ending, he doesn't actually save her. By the time he gets to her, she's already been like so mortally wounded that she like with her dying words, she tells Seymour to become a success and make the most of this plant, and lets the plant eat her. And he goes to try and like kill himself, and then the Jim Belushi character comes by and offers him more money to make little Seymours and stuff like that. And it's I think it's a little it hits the
Make
nail
little
on the
Audrey
head.
II to make little Audrey IIs.
Exactly. So like that version definitely underscores what you were saying a lot more. And I as much as it would have been nice to get like a little bit more of like a hard hit message, I very much so appreciate the ending they did go with. Because if Audrey 2 ate Audrey, that would have soured a lot of my opinion on it, I think.
Well, and it doesn't necessarily totally end like everything's going to be okay, because the last moment of the film, you do see a little tiny Audrey II plant in the plant bed of their like white picket fence home. So, like this is not over. And I thought that was like an interesting touch that they added that. Me as like a cynic, I kind of would have preferred to see the original ending. Now I'm very curious to see that original ending.
I think it's on the director's cut edition too. There's like a DVD or Blu-ray release, but I'm sure you could find it online somewhere.
It literally ends with like the entire human race going to war with Audrey IIs, like little Audrey IIs.
Yeah, I definitely want to see that. The one thing that I will say though is, and this is just kind of not happy accident, but this is more of like interesting point, is that Rick Moranis, he actually gave up acting and he gave up his career to take care of his kids after his wife passed away. So like he gave up all of his success and he gave up all of his, his career in order to pursue something that he thought was more important, which was his family, which I think is so sweet. And when you know that as you're watching this film, it just makes that character more likable.
I really respect that decision, because I know like he was a part of so many seminal classics that in this reboot hungry landscape that we have now, that he's being offered so many opportunities to come back into the industry. And I really respect his resolve there, because that is a great reason to retire.
Yeah. And it wasn't even like, that wasn't even something that recently, like that was at the height of his career. Like that was back in the 80s that this happened. So he like walked away from all of it and being like, no, this is the right thing that I have to do. Like my kids need their parent with them. So I don't know, thinking about that and then thinking about the lesson of this movie, I'm like, wow, that's kind of kismet the way that was casted, and looking back on it in retrospect.
Yeah, it just adds a whole nother layer to it that makes you just appreciate it all the more.
Yeah, and I often wonder sometimes if like certain actors are like very well suited for specific roles, because underneath of it, like maybe they really are that way. And I really do wonder that. And like I think about like what's his name, who was in A House of Cards, Kevin Spacey. And then we find out, oh no, he really was a monster, and he like plays this monster on the House of Cards. And I wonder if some of that is real. I don't know. Now I have to be very careful about the characters that I play.
Khalid, speaking of real, things that are real, bears are real. Now's a good time for the 4 bears test.
God, this must sound so random to you, Heather. You haven't listened to any of the episodes, so this is just, that segue must have been both terrible and baffling for you.
It was a great segue. I don't know what you're talking about.
All right, Joe. All right, I won't dwell on it. So for those of you who may be listening for the first time, or maybe guesting for the first time, the 4 bears test is essentially, it started off as a joke in our first episode, but we've kind of elaborated on it more and tried to give it some more credence. So now it's asking the question, what would happen if you replace the monster in question with 4 bears? How does it affect the narrative that it inhabits? So, so it's a test because it's like, well, could you do it? Does the story still work, irrespective of if you have the monster or 4 bears or not? So, keeping that in mind, I always put a little bit of a caveat to it just to wedge it in a little bit more and make it work a little neater. So let's just say, for example, with this one, the plant monster, Audrey II, it's immobile for the most part, so it would automatically fail there. But even if we give it the caveat where the bears can't move, I'm still hard pressed to say like 4 immobile bears in place of Audrey II makes as much sense. Mostly because I don't see why that many people would be as fascinated with 4 bears to like go to this shop. It's also a plant shop, not a bear shop. I don't know. And like I guess strength wise, it's probably pretty comparable to 4 bears for most of the movie. It's closer to the third act when it's able to bring down the entire building on Seymour that it gets stronger than 4 bears. I don't think 4 bears could take an entire shop down. So yeah, I think it still fails, even if you make the 4 bears as mobile as the Audrey II. It doesn't pass. What do you say, Joe?
I agree with you. I mean, you went a lot deeper than I probably thought, or I would have, or thought you would have. I mean, my thought is just like Audrey II could swallow people whole, and bears don't have big enough mouths for that. So obvious fail.
Well, in Audrey II's defense, it's not until later on when it's way big that it can swallow people whole.
Fair enough.
Moranis had to chop the dentist up.
Fair enough. Speaking of chopping up stuff, Khalid, would you fight or would you flirt with Audrey II if you were in Rick Moranis' position?
You are 0 for 2 on segues right now.
Some would say 2 for 2.
Who is some? You?
Just some, you know.
Okay. So fight or flirt. It's a pretty self-explanatory segment, Heather, and any audience members who may be listening for the first time.
Wait, is it does it mean that would you like punch it or would you kiss it?
Essentially,
Kinda,
yeah. Would I, if I was a protagonist in this monster movie and the monster was coming for me, would I try to fight it and kill it? Or do I think that I could charm it enough to get out of the situation?
Both of those options are not workplace appropriate. So as your lawyer, I'm going to advise against both. But as your friend, I would like to know.
Okay, fair enough. You are right that this technically all does occur in a workplace, so HR would have a field day with either of my answers. That being said, if we keep HR out of it, this is an interesting one. I think it's all dependent on what stage of the monster I realize it, because I feel like Seymour waited way too long. If it's big enough to take down the building, you waited too long to fight it, and he got lucky, really. I mean,
but that was his baby, though. I mean, that was his baby, you know?
I mean, your baby starts asking you to feed it people. You start weighing your options. That's all I'm saying.
How many babies have you had?
12. Thank you for asking. I'm actually a spider. No, so I guess, all right. So if it's like the first 2 acts where it's not crazy big and can drop a building on me, I would fight it. If I just wait as long as the movie waited and let it get to as the biggest size that it does, I guess I'd have no choice but to try and flirt with it, which this is a kind of egotistical monster. I really think I could play to that weakness and really charm it up, and maybe, I don't know, tell it I'm bringing it food, and then it's like really like poison food or something, whatever would poison this thing. I would have to it would probably be trial and error, but I don't know, maybe it's like really old rancid meat. So I go dig up a body and I feed it that, and that's how I kill it. But yeah, I would fight it if it's younger and flirt it if it's big enough to drop a building on me. How was that, lawyer? How did you take that?
I think that was I think you would do well with either of those situations, and I think honestly, knowing you, you're so intelligent. I just feel like flirting with it would be your best option.
Aw,
Because
thank you.
you could really charm the pants off that plant.
My eyebrow
You know,
game is unparalleled, so you're not wrong. I would
You're
definitely, yeah, I would give it pause before it tried to kill me.
No, definitely, and you could mesmerize that plant with your just verbal skills. I feel like too, like you would talk that plant out of its pot. You know what I mean?
I'll take it. I'll take it. That is a high compliment.
you are incredibly charming, Khalid.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you. I am blushing over here. You guys are making me feel so good about my monster flirting skills.
All right, folks. I think we are running long again. I feel like I say this every episode, but we're always running long, which is fine. More content, good conversation. But I think we're going to move on to our final segment. Just to wrap up our episode, we end kind of just going around and talking about just something that we're into right now, what we're obsessed in. It's a segment that we call What the Fandom. And just something that you're really into at the moment, a show, a book, a movie, podcast, album, what have you. So Heather, I'll give you a little to think about it. So Khalid, why don't you start us off? What the fandom?
Thank you, Joe. My fandom this week is going to be the DC animated series Harley Quinn. It's currently it was originally on DC Universe, RIP, and now it's on HBO Max. So the reason I'm bringing it up, outside of it being a fantastic show that is super funny, well written, a solid female relationship that gets its due service throughout the 2 seasons that it's been on, hopefully a third, we'll see. Is that I never realized it, but one of the characters in it, it's Harley Quinn, which is a Batman villain. And if you know Batman villains, then you know Poison Ivy is a villain. And she is the one of the main characters of the series. And she has a plant that is very much so inspired by Audrey II in Little Shop of Horrors. And it's a talking like Venus flytrap type monster plant that she created. And it's voiced by JB Smoove. And a lot of people might know him as Larry's black friend in Curb Your Enthusiasm. And he's super funny in that too, if you haven't seen that show. But he voices the character. And honestly, if like I know they're trying to make a remake, which we didn't get into, but if they really want to like go for it, JB Smoove would be hilarious as the creature. I think they're actually going to go with Billy Porter, who is also a good casting choice for the singing of it all. But JB Smoove for like just like a comedically like voiced carnivorous sentient plant. If you want to see that and you want to get a laugh in you, go check out Harley Quinn on HBO Max because it is a great show.
Cool. Heather, how about you? What are you into lately?
I've been watching and rewatching episodes of What We Do in the Shadow, the show. It's on Hulu. It's the serialized version of What We Do in the Shadows, the mockumentary. It's so good. It's so funny. There are so many great, interesting characters on that show, and I love anything that takes something scary and makes it funny. I mean, that's why I brought this particular movie to you guys. But yeah, highly recommend it if you want to be super distracted and laugh a lot.
We are big What We Do in the Shadows fans, so I love that you recommended that one.
That show is so great.
It's really, really funny. It's really, really funny. And actually, Khalid, last time we hung out, we were talking about it, I feel like, and we talked about the Addams Family and like it needs to be rebooted. and we actually rewatched two of the Addams Family films, and you're like, it needs to be a new installment, but it's like Black Addams Family. And I'm like, as I'm watching, I'm like, oh yes, like this needs to be done for sure.
Oh yeah. Black Goth is a whole vibe. It's sexy, it's cool, and I think a black imagining of the Addams Family would be sick.
Yeah, and I felt that way like as I was also rewatching what we do in the shadows. Like where are the black vampires? Like we need more of them on this show.
Yeah, I don't know who saw Blade and didn't think we needed more black vampires.
Yeah, more black funny vampires. We need that.
Yeah, we do. Joe, what's your plug?
Right now, I at this point in recording this podcast, I'm really into the new Star Trek series, Star Trek Lower Decks. It's on my mind. I just watched a little bit of them again, but I've watched the first three at this point, and the first one was a little bit manic for me, and I didn't love it at first, but as the second and third ones have come, and I've really started to get into it, like the characters, and I like how it kind of plays around with the Star Trek mythology. And anyone who listens to this probably knows that I'm a huge Star Trek fan, so I'm generally automatically on board no matter what. But I do appreciate that this show is kind of like a riskier, weirder show to kind of put in a franchise that's always been pretty self-serious for the most part. I mean, there's been funny things, but like poking fun at itself, it's a goofy show. And it's made by Mike McMahon, who co-created Solar Opposites, which is also a funny show, and the voice cast is just fantastic. So I'm really digging it. I think that it's going to be 10 episodes this season. It's on CBS All Access. I think the first one is free on YouTube, though, last I checked, if anyone's interested. But I don't know, Star Trek itself is not a thing that needs plugging necessarily, but I just think that the show being new, I'm a fan. I'm really into it. I'm looking forward to the next episode.
Heck yeah, man. That show is great. I've watched it too, and I second his endorsement of it.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. Coming from there, Heather, it's been so much fun to have you on. Like I said, this was probably one of our longer episodes, so we obviously had a great conversation. You brought a lot to it, and thanks for finally pushing us to watch Little Shop of Horrors. It was great.
I was glad to do it, you guys. I'm always here to watch a campy musical.
We'll have to have you on again sometime.
Yeah, I'll try and think of another campy, a very campy, funny monster movie, because I won't watch real monsters. Yeah. It will scare me.
Well, when you think of one, let us know.
Unless Khalid is there to flirt with them and get them away from me.
I will flirt with so many monsters. I don't even dare me.
Don't even dare me to do it.
I'll do it.
I'll do it. Just in the attic.
Oh man.
Where can we find you, Heather, online if people want to find your stuff?
So if you guys want to see a real monster, aka me as a really dumb Valley Girl type that travels abroad to Uruguay, you can follow my show at El Kimberly Project with a Y. On Instagram.
Check her out, y'all. Check her out.
Yeah, I saw the trailer so far. It's funny. Watch it.
All right. We don't know what we're doing for the next episode yet, but check out our socials. We will post about it as soon as we do. Usually I sign off by saying creep it easy, but this week, in honor of the greatest catchphrase I didn't know came from this movie, tough titty, y'all.